Good morning. Brian Hale here with Mortgage Advisory Partners. It's Monday, January 8th, and I'm coming to you once again from my office in Newport Beach, California. Included in this post are the links to our weekly newsletter that we publish, as well as a link to subscribe to the newsletter. If you subscribe, and I remind everybody it's free, you would have actually got the newsletter on Friday so that you would have had it for the weekend for your clients, your customers, and anybody else that you may want to use this important information for. This week's newsletter talks about the historically wide spread between mortgage rates and the 10-year Treasury. I know most of us in the mortgage business have learned to follow the 10-year Treasury as an indicator as to where mortgage rates are headed. But what's happened, of course, is that mortgage rates versus the 10-year have really widened out. It's typically referred to as the spread. This spread is caused by a couple of things. One, the Fed has stopped buying mortgage-backed securities as a function of trying to limit inflation and take money out of the market. And in addition to that, as rates have come down rapidly, bond investors are still looking for higher yields, and that's causing the need to price mortgage-backed securities at an ever higher rate relative to the 10-year Treasury. Now, with that said, as I've mentioned in several other posts, we had a stronger than anticipated jobs report on Friday, which drove the 10-year back up above the 4% level, which has been a key level. As I've been saying for quite some time, I do not expect rates to drop in a straight line. I do believe that rates will be better as we go through this year and into the latter part of this year and certainly into 2025. But that said, there's an awful lot going on in the world that could slow that progress down. This week, we have two really important pieces of data coming out. On Thursday, we'll get the CPI data, Consumer Price Index, both the what's called the headline number, as well as core inflation. The headline number is expected to actually be slightly higher than it was last month, which could tick the markets worse, meaning rates would get worse. However, core inflation, which excludes housing and energy and food, is expected to be somewhat lower than last month. If either of those two numbers disappoint on Thursday, we could see the bond market retrench a little bit and rates go up. In addition to that, on Friday, the Producer Price Index, PPI, is expected to be produced on Friday as well. It's the monthly number from the Department of Commerce. That'll come out. Again, if that number comes out worse than expectations, we could see somewhat of retardation of mortgage rates. The PPI tracks wholesale inflation, so inflation at the wholesale level instead of the retail level. So Thursday, we get the retail number. Friday, we get the wholesale number. If either one of those numbers disappoint, we could lose ground in the mortgage interest rates. One last thing that's really impacting the market that I think all of you should pay attention to is the price of oil. Oil has been coming down dramatically. I happen to live in California and I've seen gas prices come down. I happen to have a home in Texas as well, and whenever I'm there, gas prices are about half of what they are here in California. It drives me nuts. Most of it here is state tax on top of our normal price of gasoline. But in general, oil, gas, other things have been coming down in a very deflationary way. There's a word we haven't heard in a while, deflationary. In fact, this past week or so, oil prices have kind of retracted. They've gotten higher by about 3%, and that's being caused by a concern with a widening war in the Middle East. If the war in the Middle East were to widen out, we could have a threat to oil supplies, although the U.S. is self-sufficient in oil and actually is a net exporter of oil. The fact is that if world oil supplies are threatened, you're going to see the price go up, and that's contrary to improved inflation. So three big numbers this week. The CPI, including the CPI and the core CPI, the Producer Price Index, so CPI is on Thursday, Producer Price Index on Friday, and then keep your eye on the price of oil and what's going on in the Middle East. We'll give you a little bit of sense of where rates are likely headed. Again, we have the link to subscribe to this newsletter. You'd get it on the Friday before the weekend. It comes out. It's completely free to you, and it has an awful lot of forward-looking data points that you can pay attention to additional links to additional articles that are relevant to what it is you do for a living. And this week's newsletter has some outstanding graphs that you can use either with clients, with salespeople who work for you, or with customers to explain what's going on. I hope you have a great week. I'm really kind of bullish on 2025. I think at some point here this year, we could have a little mini refi boomlet, somewhat similar to the type of refi booms we've had in the past, but who knows? This is those who can absolutely predict interest rates are certainly way better than I am, and I've found over time they're right until they're wrong. So be a little careful with that. What I'm trying to do is educate you on what to pay attention to, give you data and information that you can read and use, and hopefully through that, I've helped you in some small way. I hope you have a great week. I wish you all the best. We'll talk to you next Monday, if not before, and I look forward to talking to everybody. Have a great week, and my best to all of you.